In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 tips of things you might never have thought of that will make your feet cold, bing, when you're camping in the winter. One of the first considerations that you need to think about when you are camping in a tent, like my glorious MSR hubba here, is you need to avoid pressing your sleeping bag and your feet against the tent wall. Especially this sort of tent, which is 6 feet and maybe 6 inches long or about 192 centimeters long, is that there's not a lot of room for me to actually wriggle around in there. And if I end up pressing my sleeping bag against the tent wall, by squishing my sleeping bag against the tent wall, that will compress the down on my sleeping bag and consequently chill my feet. So you need to actively make sure that your tent is in a good level location so you don't end up sliding down and squishing your sleeping bag against the tent wall. Tip number 2, avoid cots or anything that hangs you up in the air. Yes, I know there's a YouTuber named Shug. He does incredibly well, but he's also very conscientious of how he sets up his hammocks, sleeping in the air. He does put a lot of effort into it. Check out his videos. I mean, he does incredible. I know I'm sending people away, but I think of it as the Miracle on 42nd Street. I think that's what it was. Yeah, so avoid cots or anything that creates dead air space behind your body in your tent or wherever, because yes, they're comfortable to sleep on in the summer, but they are freezing at night. So unless you have a lot of preparation, don't do that. Tip number 3, and that's kind of a corollary, is avoid using bivy sacks in cold conditions unless you've tested the heck out of your system when you go out there. Now, bivy sacks are incredible. They are literally basically an expensive nylon shell that you wriggle your sleeping bag into and you sleep. And I know some people that really enjoy that experience, but for me, oh boy, that is like being a coffin, because what happens when you have to relieve your bladder at night and you got to get out of that thing and you got to do that thing 4 times over the course of a night because it's cold? Oh gosh. So if you're a bivy sack sleeper and you've got your system down, totally cool. But I recommend, if you've got an emergency bivy sack or something that you're planning to sleep in, make sure to test that in your backyard or someplace local before you go out into the extreme cold, because gosh, I've seen some people freeze pretty miserably. Just to give you a point of comparison, I have yet to see anybody on Denali ever using a bivy sack as a shelter. They just can't handle the wind and the cold. Tip number 4, this is something you might never thought of. When you wake up in the morning and there is the frost around your sleeping bag when you're breathing, your sleeping bag's going to be wet. I've seen some other YouTubers, they bring a big piece of fleece and drape it over a sleeping bag. That's a pretty slick way to prevent your sleeping bag from getting soaked. But when you wake up, invariably there's going to be frost on your sleeping bag. Do not use your hand to brush it off, because your hand has warmth and you will push that moisture and the frost into your sleeping bag, which will get your sleeping bag wet. Instead, bring a small broom, not necessarily a huge whisk broom. That, of course, is as cold as it is outside. And then just very gently brush all the frost and moisture off your sleeping bag, and you will keep your sleeping bag substantially drier so that you don't put moisture into the down and freeze your keister off. I've got these tips plus 100 more in my book, How to Keep Your Feet Warm in the Cold. It is probably one of the easiest, quintessential, and hopefully fun readings that you will learn all different sorts of techniques to keep your feet warm in the cold. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. I know cold. This is me. Trust me. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and check out links below to everything I've talked about. Thank you.